Hi everybody, my name is Rebecca Foden and I'm here today to talk about employee referral and advocacy programs as part of the Innovation Hive. Please follow the Innovation Hive. It's a great learning platform which allows you to really have access to industry leading resources that have been handcrafted by the team. So I'm really pleased to invite today Rob and Carla, who are both going to talk about specific case studies around this important agenda. So Rob and Carla, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, so I'm Carla Simpson, Head of Talent Onboarding and HR Shared Services over at Kisimul Group.
And I'm Rob Devlin, co-founder of the Innovation Hive, and I run Devlin Talent. We support healthcare businesses globally in developing award-winning TA strategy.
Brilliant. Welcome, both of you. So really excited to get started. So it's really important that we, as TA leaders, that we talk about some of the challenges that face us day to day. And part of the Innovation Hive is to really talk about practical solutions that we have implemented ourselves and to help other leaders to think about some of the obstacles and solutions that we embark every day. So I've got a couple of questions. So do you want to talk about some of the employee referral programs that you've helped to deliver? So Rob, I know that you've had some really excellent results here.
Yeah, sure. So I think for me, great referral programs are often about getting the basics right. And often my experience is that it starts with awareness. So it's come down to, how well are you communicating and engaging people within the business that you've got a scheme. So I often like to start at a very basic level around that. And then think about, innovative ways in which you can get the message out there. So whether or not, if you're a multi-site business, looking at actual physical tools on site in staff areas and also digital roadmaps. So one of the things which we found worked very effectively in a previous business that Carla and I worked in was to have a combination of life cycle digital comms where we would engage colleagues at certain life points, and we conducted quite a lot of analysis to help us understand at what point in their career are they more likely to respond. And I think we found the sweet spot was around about 13, 14 weeks after starting with us. If they were having a good time, they were most likely to refer some people to us. And then as well as the lifecycle comms, we had seasonal campaigns as well. So linked to incentives at Christmas, to pay for your Christmas shopping or in the summertime. So engagement and awareness to me is also a really important part of it. Carla, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I like what you said about making sure that we've got a really clear process. And I think for me, that's where a lot of organisations fall down. There's too many steps. Nothing worse than somebody making a referral and they don't get paid. Then they're chasing up payment. They're left with a bitter taste. They tell their friends about their experience. And for me, that really hinders your processes. So, what we've recently introduced at Kisimul is a 1-week check-in call so we can see how people are settling in. You talked earlier about the sweet spot and just asking them, how has your recruitment and onboarding experience been? Assuming it has been a positive one, fantastic. We want more people like you. Who else do you know? So for us, that's worked really well. And I think really basic, we've implemented it within our current systems, nothing too fancy, but it's working. So yeah.
I guess there's lots of up and coming TA leaders, and I know that budgets are really tight at the moment. And it's often, particularly in the current climate where TA leaders are really, trying to get that budget to make the business case, to implement really effective solutions. What would your advice be to those leaders that really want to drive change, but perhaps, need to make a business case? How do they go about this? And particularly promoting employee referral programs and the benefits?
Yeah, good question. I think in my experience, there's so many benefits to an employer referral scheme, and I'm a big fan of, always starting with the data. So I would advise anyone, to begin by looking at what's the cost per hire for the different channels that they're using as part of their attraction strategy. And from that point, you can then start to almost engineer a solution through your referral scheme to give you a better cost per hire. I know when we were working together at my dentist, I think we worked with a fantastic employer branding agency, SMRS, and we didn't spend a huge amount of money, but we created a really, really engaging visual brand identity around the referral program, and we had pretty good financial rewards as well. But really, it was the key thing for us was being quite intentional in segmenting who were the people we wanted to go after. So we particularly identified the roles and the locations of those roles where we were struggling to recruit, and we would drive comms into those local teams to build engagement and to get those referrals coming through. And what we found in those instances was the cost per hire came down significantly, not surprisingly, and we created a more diverse, talent pool of candidates. So we were able to be intentional in terms of the people we're going after. So as well as having the cost per hire benefit, we also had a benefit in terms of the diversity of the talent pool. So for me, I would definitely put those two things in a business case. Carla, what do you think?
For me, it's, again, back to the basics. I think you'll often find that healthcare organisations don't have really big, sexy budgets. They're often quite limited. So one of the first things that I would often do is look at our return on investment across the various job boards that we're using. And I've made a decision currently to kind of put everything that we have and utilise it within one space so that we can really get it working effectively for us. I think previously you can make the mistake of trying to cover too much land and then spreading yourself too thin and becoming just not impactful. So yeah, for me, I think it's making sure that take it back to basics, you understand the data, you understand the talent pool for whichever routes you're using, and then you can make more informed decisions.
And Carla, I guess from your experience as well, because I know you've implemented employee referral programs in a couple of firms, how do you get engagement from the employees, right? Because we can come up with these really cool solutions, but fundamentally we need to engage with the workforce to help drive referrals. So what would be your top tips to TA folk around that?
So I think focusing on your EVP, finding your star performers within your organisation and identifying ideally who do we want more of, and then speaking them to understand why they're here and why they stay and what makes them excited about working for your organisation. I think once you've got that feedback, you can use that to attract more of the same. So for example, we've always been able to attract other healthcare workers, but what we found difficult was attracting people in support centre. So for example, somebody in finance, why wouldn't they go work for a big corporate organisation? What would make them want to come and work for a healthcare organisation? So it was speaking to the relevant people to find what was the benefit to them, what was the unique selling point, and why they really enjoy being with us, and then building on that to just kind of market it to your relevant audience, really.
Brilliant, I love that. And Rob, I guess the same question around thinking about some of the challenges. So when you've been able to implement the employee referral program within the healthcare organisations that you've supported, were there any specific sort of stubborn challenges that perhaps, or lessons learned that now on reflection you wish you had known earlier before implementing these solutions?
Yes, and I think to Carla's earlier point, a lot of it was just around processes and making sure that you've really got very, very simplified processes, and those processes are managed closely, and really you're making sure that the people that are getting into the process and then getting rewarded in the right way. And we didn't have massive budgets. We drove a lot of it through spreadsheets. Actually, we had a fantastic team member, Rosanna, who sort of passionately defended the employee referral program, and we wanted to create quite a human connection to the people that were referring as well. So we would phone them up and thank them for referring, so just really basic things like that, which don't cost any money but really win the trust of the people that you need to win the trust of. The other thing that I'd say, was a big learn and was very successful is how powerful this can be when you have not huge financial incentives, but financial incentives for people like graduates, because graduates are generally quite financially motivated and they're so well connected and networked. So again, Rosa, who was our head of early careers, she did a great job of getting alumni to go back into the dental schools, and using our referral incentive, they would often be generating 5, 10, 15, 20 hot leads, and they would want to stay close to them because they knew if they placed all those people, they could pay a significant amount of their student loan off. So again, it wasn't really rocket science. It was just more about trying to execute really well and build confidence in the scheme.
And were there any other challenges? I know that when I was at EY, for example, we were implementing an employee advocacy program, particularly in response to some of our partners, whereby they would be referring perhaps people that they already knew. So this idea that employee referrals can drive nepotism or perhaps lack of diversity in the pipeline. Have you experienced any of those challenges, and how would you try to overcome that with the business as well in order to get get their buy-in? That's a really question to either you, Rob, or Carla.
We've not had so much a problem with diversity, because I think healthcare in its very nature is just a very diverse group of people. What we have had is people a little bit reluctant to refer somebody in case it didn't work out. So I think we provided scripts and training for our recruitment team to just let them know, look, it's called refer a friend, but actually if this doesn't work out, this is no reflection on yourself. We're just looking to speak to other great people like you, and just kind of put those anxieties to bay. I don't know about you, Rob.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the challenges we generally face in healthcare is a shortage of talent. So diversity is a luxury in most cases. You kind of have to work with the talent pools that you've got. Where you can be more intentional, I find, is in the early career space, because you're dealing with higher volumes of people that are generally more diverse. So I would say that the best examples for me have been in early careers, advocacy, and employer referral programs, for sure. And I think inherently within healthcare, a lot of people come through referrals, and there's a networking thing that happens, albeit on the golf course, which it can be problematic, because, like you say, you can end up with very similar talent pools. So I agree with what Carla said. It's about being clear on the segments of people that you want to go after, and to really drive into those segments. For me, early careers is just always the best place to go in. And I think it was interesting for us in My Dentist, which is a great organisation that both Carla and I work for, where actually you had opposite diversity statistics, where actually people were they were biasing much more towards female clinicians, because the industry is predominantly occupied by female people. So it wasn't that we were intentionally trying to go for that gender, it's just that you have to work within the constraints of the talent that's available. So I think sometimes it's good to be aware of the data, and it's good to be aware of the stats, and where you can affect it in a positive way, you absolutely should do, but also just not to get too hung up on that when you're facing into real shortage of talent. I think sometimes that can overcomplicate the process.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. And I know that at EY, for example, we did a lot more segmentation and also targeting around some of our brand ambassadors that were going back out on campus. So trying to drive those diverse talent pools, we were effectively identifying diverse brand ambassadors to refer other diverse individuals like themselves. So it's just really being mindful around the referral program, and to think about some of the challenges that you might get across the business in terms of this perception that a referral program may not yield the right type of ED&I outcomes. So it's just one of those areas, I think, when you're thinking about a referral program, is to really think about some of the challenges you might get from the business.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and also I'm just really interested around leveraging social media and other digital tools. Did either of you leverage any tools to help drive advocacy around referrals, and also what kind of success did you see and engagement?
Carla, you go first.
I said for us, we do have limited options, let's say. I think ours has been very kind of verbal. So we do have some nice images and content and things that we've worked really hard on to get creative and to make it really attractive. But I think for us, it's been the selling point has been a really good quality conversation, good follow-up, and giving them a really great candidate experience. We do have things that we share in our internal comms, and we've got posters up around the services where they've got QR codes on and they can scan them. But in terms of social media, that's something that we perhaps need to explore a little bit more of. I know at My Dentist we did a lot via Facebook, didn't we, and other social media platforms, but I think where I'm at, the position I'm at the minute, it's been very limited.
Yeah, and I love that, Carla, because what we're talking about here is a real practical, low-cost solution that can be innovative without a big budget, so you can still drive change and positive outcomes with very, very minimal tools available. So that's a really good example where we can really try to engender some change. And Rob, really interested in when you were at My Dentist and social media. So Carla mentioned that you use Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, we had a very sort of multi-channel social strategy. So I think, we would get a lot more engagement across channels like Facebook with the student segments, and we also used LinkedIn as well. So depending on the segment that we were targeting, we would push the different social channels according to where we were going to get the best engagement. The other tech that we used, which was low cost, was our ATS. So most ATSs have got great automation functionality that can help either send automated email communication out to people or can prompt the recruiter to pick the phone up. So like Carla said, what we were doing a lot of was using our ATS to send a reminder to say, hey, Becky, Carla's just hit 4 weeks, give Carla a call to check in, and then we would partner with our HR colleagues to ensure there was a good, 360 approach to it, and really sort of just raise the confidence of the recruiters in having those check-in conversations and taking greater ownership for that initial part of the candidate life cycle. And a big challenge in our sector, as well as many others, is retention. So there was real value in having those high-touch human conversations early on to make sure people were really happy. And if we suspected they weren't, we could make an intervention and do something about it. So we didn't have the luxury of any super flashy tech, but I think we did some cool, scrappy innovation around it, using the technology that we had to use to kind of really embed the referral program.
We did have some great training as well. So Rob used to deliver something called the OMG training, and he described it very much as going through the motions when you're speaking to somebody, and when you've got them, like, OMG, I've got them, this is the point, and only then would you end your call. And I think for me, it's making sure that you've got quality, competent recruiters that know how to have a really good telephone conversation. They're not doing it because it's a tick box exercise.
Yeah, I love that, Carla. And also with the script, I'm a big fan of scripts for recruiters to really help them to have those conversations. And my last question is around success measures. So what was the one key success metric that you measured that was the most impactful around the employee referral program? So one measure each, Carla and Rob.
For me, it's retention. So I think that's the key to a good hire. Do they stay within the business? For me, that'd be my number one. And I think, there's lots of data at the moment, especially by like the Care Friends app, for example, that says that people are more inclined to stay when they've been referred by a friend or somebody that they know. So for me, it's referral data. Sorry, retention data.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was the conversion percentage of people, how many people that we were reaching out to ask for a referral were then converting it into, becoming a referral. And then also how many of those people were then converting to becoming an advocate, via our social channels as well, and being comfortable to leave a positive review on Glassdoor or Indeed, and then engage them to go back in and do a conversation, in the university or nursing college or what have you. So it was really those softer measures, I think, that kind of helped us guide the strategy more successfully.
Brilliant, I love it. So you heard it here, everybody. There are really practical solutions that you can implement that don't cost lots of money or big budget. And, it's really about thinking about the referral program, thinking about some of the key success measures, which can be both hard and soft measures, and, and really trying to really engage with your workforce to really help to endorse and sponsor this program. So really great update from both Rob and Carla. Please download the toolkit in Innovation Hive. We've got real life examples there, which are both, scrappy innovator type examples, which are pretty manual using spreadsheets, right through to, really cool technology, automated type tools. That's it from us. And thanks both for giving us an update on the employee referral program.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vicky. Bye.